All right. So that, my friends, brings us to what crazy thing did AeroMexico
AeroMexico.
do this week?
Love it. What did AeroMexico do?
Well, I don't know if they did it this week. I know they didn't do it this week, but I discovered it
Right.
this week that AeroMexico is doing something kind of crazy. They're offering dynamically priced awards on partner airlines. So, in addition to the regular standard award chart that they have for their SkyTeam awards, you can also book Delta flights at dynamic prices, which means that AeroMexico has access to all sorts of Delta space with award tickets, which wouldn't ordinarily necessarily excite you, except that with the current transfer bonus, it's basically almost 2-to-1, right? So you divide their prices in half. And when I went looking through and I wrote a post about this, I found that in many cases, the AeroMexico price was fewer miles than the Delta price, and they had access to a wide range of award seats that other partners didn't have access to. And then when you chop those prices in half on top of that, it just turned out that AeroMexico is the best option for booking Delta flights in some specific scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this find. So just to make things a little clearer, because not everybody probably understands this. A number of point programs allow transfers to AeroMexico, but most of them are 1-to-1. You get one AeroMexico kilometer or whatever it is per point that you transfer. But Amex standardly does, what is it, 1.6?
I think
something
so,
like that.
Mm-hmm.
You get 1.6 because they're anyway, you get 1.6 AeroMexico thingies in exchange for each Amex point that you transfer normally. But right now, through mid-February-ish, there's a transfer bonus from Amex. So that transfer bonus on top of their normal 1 to 1.6 thing makes it close to 1.2.
Close to 1.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's close
exactly.
to 1 to 2. It's 1 to 1.92, but let's just call it 1 to 2.
But for doing the math, it's easier to say you're basically doubling your points in a way, but getting them stuck in AeroMexico world, which up until now never interested me at all, because when I've looked at award prices through AeroMexico before, even with knowing that I could get a lot more of them from Amex, the prices were so bad that I wasn't interested. But you found actually not only were the prices, when you consider the doubling, good, but they were often, or I don't know if often, but they were sometimes better than Delta's own award pricing, like from the get-go, like just comparing Delta miles to AeroMexico miles.
Right. Which really surprised me, because I had the same impression as you that AeroMexico miles were basically worthless. And let's be clear, they are worthless in a lot of scenarios. There are a lot of situations where awards are way overpriced, and it wouldn't matter if Amex gave you 3 AeroMexico thingies per point. They still would have been out of range. But specifically, the routes that I found where they were potentially a great deal were routes to Alaska and Canada, even some domestic U.S. routes. And then outlier there from Honolulu to Sydney was much better through AeroMexico. Still bad, but much better through AeroMexico. So, it's something I never would have checked. I never would have gone to AeroMexico to check their award prices. And now I'll at least give it a look, especially while the transfer bonus is on. If I happen to want to book a Delta flight, then give it a look and see.
Yeah.
You don't have to log in to search. It's really easy.
That's great. That's nice, because some programs do make you log in, and that's kind of a nuisance. The one thing I do want to mention, some people have asked about AeroMexico's round the world chart. So in the past, some blogs have published like how it's a pretty good deal, especially considering the transfer from Amex to book a round the world award with AeroMexico. But all the feedback I've ever heard or read about that is that it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to actually book the thing. So they have an award chart showing a good deal, but it's not necessarily a good deal if you can't actually do it. So just something to keep in mind if you're thinking of going down that route.
Right. I mean, buyer beware. If you're going to transfer to AeroMexico, buyer beware.
Yeah. I would not transfer speculatively to AeroMexico under any circumstance. I would be like, if I found that situation that you described in your post, that there's a flight I want to take, it's on this particular, day, time, whatever, AeroMexico has a better price or a good price after considering the transfer bonus, then I'll transfer that amount needed for that. But no way am I going to get my points stuck in
tied up
AeroMexico
in
world.
AeroMexico. Yeah, right. No, that's fair. That's fair. I want to also mention though that Grant from Travel with Grant made a point. I showed in the post that AeroMexico, in addition to the fact that they had access to tons of Delta award inventory, was also showing a lot of itineraries that Delta wasn't serving up when you did the searches at Delta.com. And Grant noticed, and I think he's probably right, that it seems what AeroMexico is doing is putting together any two flights with whatever Delta defines as saver space to its partners that have a connection of less than 24 hours. So in some cases, you could get a connection of 20 or 22 hours on a domestic itinerary, which is not particularly common with most carriers. Hard to find something like that. So even though a lot of carriers will allow up to a 24-hour connection on their national itineraries, domestically it's often not something that's simple to book online, at least if it's even possible. So that may also be of interest. Again, very niche kind of situations, but you never know. Maybe it'll work out.
It is. I love it though. I mean, it gives me another opportunity. If I'm looking at a particular Delta flight that I want to take and there's no good way to book it through the normal channels, then
one more spot.
I'm going to give AeroMexico a look.
Why not?